Association. In the last 10 years, we've generated $500,000 for local research. Please give generously to your Heart Association. We need more research so you and your family can live longer and better.
WUTV, Buffalo 29.
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Open up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Well, it seems that fate has taken a hand in the game of Mooseberry, Mooseberry, Who's Got the Mooseberry? For Rocky and Bullwinkle and the two spies are all getting ready to sail to the same place, Pottsylvania.
Yeah, 'cause that's the only place in the world to get mooseberries.
But Boris and Natasha, posing as tourists, seem to be carrying coals to Newcastle, for they are taking a mooseberry bush to Pottsylvania. Or are they?
Sorry, Miss O'Brien. You can't take that aspidistra with you.
He's not aspidistra, he's real.
Don't argue with me, Mikushla. Of course he's what he said. Why couldn't we take it?
Regulations. No plants can go abroad. We're on the lookout for a stolen mooseberry bush.
Well, maybe your sister can be plant seeder for us.
But I don't have it.
This way.
Boris, what are we going to do?
I'll think of something.
Better hurry, look.
Sure enough, our heroes were headed right for them.
Quick, Natasha, put this on your head.
On my head?
Hurry. Okay, officer, we go on board now.
Now, just a minute, Mr. O'Brien. What's that?
That bigora is my wife's new hat. They get crazier every year, ain't?
Looks more like a bush to me.
Sure. You are criticizing my wife's taste?
Is that really a hat, lady?
Oh, you think I would wear anything this ridiculous if it wasn't a hat?
I guess not. Go ahead.
And the two spies left just as Rocky and Bullwinkle entered the room.
I could swear I'd seen those two somewhere before.
Anything to declare?
Yeah, I declare I've seen him too.
They're right behind us. What do we do?
Get orders from Central Control, of course.
But how? Radio's packed in trunk.
You fool, Natasha. Luckily, Boris Bedenoff is always ready for emergency. Meet Dmitri.
Dmitri?
He's carrier pigeon.
But pigeon is too slow.
Oh, not this one. He's only jet pigeon in world.
And quickly, Boris wrote a note, attached it to the pigeon, and sent it on its way. Just a few moments later, Dmitri arrived at spy headquarters overseas and delivered Boris's message. But unfortunately, the jet speed had blown off all his feathers, and he couldn't make the return flight.
We must contact Badenoff by radio.
So a moment later...
Calling Boris Badenoff. Hello, Boris.
Who said that?
His radio in trunk.
Return with mooseberry bush. Bring bush to headquarters.
Quiet!
Anything the matter, sir?
Oh, yeah, Captain Pitchfuzz. No, he's fine.
Make report to G1. What's that?
It's me. I'm Went Willing. I throw my voice.
Use code 3. Say, that's great. I couldn't see your lips move at all.
Oh, it's naughty.
Make reports Tuesdays and Thursdays. You must join the ship's concert.
Glad to. Quick, Natasha, into the cabin.
And the spies dashed into their cabin just as Rocky and Bullwinkle started up the gangplank.
Well, we're off to Pottsylvania, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, nice of all these people to come see us off.
Hello, fearless leader. What we do about moose?
You sure you got secret ingredient?
Right here.
Good. Then for moose... You heard me?
Boris, look. Coming up gangplank is moose and squirrel.
What magnificent luck. Somebody down there likes me.
Sure enough, the gangplank went just past the spy's cabin, and in an instant, Boris had snipped the cables that held it up.
Look out, Bullwinkle!
And the gangplank plummeted down between the ship and the dock. On the bridge of the liner, Captain Peachfuzz was all at sea.
Get them out of there before they're spotted.
It's just a little late for that. Oh, you beautiful doll, you great big beautiful doll.
And as the crowd watched horrified, the huge liner slowly swung closer and closer to the dock and nearer to squashing our heroes. Don't miss our next episode, Summer Squash, or He's Too Flat for Me.
return to our program after these messages.
Hi, I'm Scott Bale. I'm from Brooklyn, but I love to ski. That's tough to do in Brooklyn. But let me tell you about the other New York. The 46,000 square mile New York that's just a little north of Brooklyn. 63 downhill ski centers. That's more than any other state. Okay, downhill a little too intense for you? Well, cross-country then. The other New York has thousands of miles of great cross-country trails. And there's snowmobiling, snowshoeing, sleigh riding, you name it. And first-rate fireplaces to warm up by. You can get a terrific free booklet on I Love New York Winter Sports, plus up-to-date New York ski conditions. Just dial toll-free 1-800-CALL-NYS. That's 1-800-CALL-New York State. So, when you're not watching your favorite TV program like mine, you can go skiing. Where? I'm from Brooklyn. I love New York. Whiteface, Greek Peak, Big Vanilla, Big Tupper, Kissing Bridge. Kissing Bridge. That's where I'm going.
These sunsets are brought to you by the National Society to Prevent Blindness. Take a good look. And while you're looking, think about all the things you lose when you lose your eyesight. This year, 50,000 Americans will lose their vision forever. Yet with your help, half of all blindness can be prevented. So take a good look, then help save the sunsets. Give to prevent blindness.
Join the Ingalls family for life on the Kansas plains.
Look at the country girl. Made me so mad I wanted to smack her good.
Their sorrow.
I can't see.
And their joy.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Reverend, we've been thinking about what we could do for the church.
I want a church organ.
Church organ it is.
Oh, my. What do you think of that?
Little House on the Prairie, weekdays at 6 on WUTV, Buffalo 29. Now, back to our program.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella. She was as pretty as a princess. But she wasn't a princess. She was only a commoner. The one thing Cinderella wanted in this world was to live in the big castle on the hill. But since she was only a commoner, she wasn't even allowed to attend any of the castle functions. When she heard of any of these affairs, she would run to her bedroom, throw herself on the bed, and cry. She wasn't invited to the prune-plucking pageant. She wasn't invited to the harvest hunt. And she wasn't invited to the biggest function of all, the grand anniversary ball.
Hello, honey. I'm your fairy godmother. I hope you don't mind my rearranging the furniture.
My fairy godmother. Now I can go to the ball.
You said it, honey. Go to Fairy Rentals. Make it possible for even commoners to go places in style. Just sign here.
Can I get into the castle?
Oh, look here, hon. The deluxe anniversary ball package. Only 100 gold grickles. Includes costume, transportation, and entrance to the castle.
Yeah, but can I marry the prince?
That's 10 grickles extra.
It's a deal.
And with that, the fairy showed Cinderella a finery. There were racks of dresses, hundreds of furs, boxes of jewels.
What about shoes?
I knew I forgot something.
Yes, the good fairy had brought only one pair of shoes with her.
This says 5B.
That's just my size.
But this one's a 13D.
13D?
Yes, it's roomy but comfortable.
That's pretty big.
It's wear this or go barefoot, hon.
I'll wear it.
So, that evening, resplendent in her new clothes, Cinderella approached the castle and entered.
Never mind, honey. You were unfashionably early anyway.
But you promised.
Good Fairy Rentals never fails. Just stand right here. And remember, this stuff is due back at midnight.
Last, I'm going to get into the castle.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the castle wall, Prince Edgar the Mild was speaking with the Prime Minister.
I don't care, Bertie. I want to move.
It's impossible, Eddie.
But this old place is so drafty, and it's falling to bits. Look here.
Nevertheless, as long as you're a prince, you must reside in the palace.
Then I don't want to be a prince. I want to be something else.
Like what?
Well, how about an egg candler?
You haven't the training.
A yogurt tester? An owl trainer?
Face it, Eddie. All you've ever done is collect things. Stamps, butterflies, match covers.
Well, isn't there any call for match cover collectors out there?
No, Eddie. There's really only one way you can leave the castle.
And what's that?
You must marry a commoner.
A commoner? Never. That does it. Where can I find a commoner?
Hi. My name's Cinderella. You must be the prince. Hello, darling.
Is that a commoner?
You've got an eye for class because of the way you're looking
Of course
at me.
not.
Daddy
Obviously, a girl of breeding.
Stocks and bonds. That a girl breeding is just as plain as day to princes.
Too bad.
And that's why Mumsy, well, she says that finishing school means an awful lot to a girl like me.
She's a pretty thing. Dances well, too.
Dancing. At Valhalla, that nice summer place. I just danced till all
Oh, I do wish you were a commoner.
Daddy's a
I'd marry her in a minute.
Just love to hit peasants with my polo mallet. Don't you? Darling,
Honey, be yourself.
Oh, my
Be yourself.
And I'm so
Poor
sorry.
Cinderella. She was missing her one opportunity to marry the prince simply by not being herself. A little moral there. And the time quickly went by until midnight. Of course, Cinderella had to flee the palace, but before she did so, she left a small token for the prince to return to her.
I'll just leave this small token for the prince to return to me.
My dear girl, please, I just said that.
I don't want anybody to miss the plot.
Well, Cinderella sat around with one shoe on for days, but she just knew the prince would come, and sure enough, he did.
Is this your shoe, little lady?
Yes, it is.
It doesn't fit very well.
Well, it's roomy but comfortable.
You're sure it's yours?
Yes. Now you put it on.
Put it on? I came to take the other one off.
But, Your Highness.
Highness? I'm not a prince. I'm a collector.
Acme Collection Agency. Deadbeats a specialty.
Yes. And you failed to return these shoes to Good Fairy Rentals.
But aren't we going to get married?
Married? I'm already married to a commoner.
Commoner than what, dearie?
So the prince got to leave the castle after all, and he and the good fairy lived happily ever after. And Cinderella, well, she finally got to live inside the castle.
Right. Good Fairy Rentals makes it possible for any, commoner to live like a queen.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school, just like their neighbors, and come back to a real home. A supervised home, right in the neighborhood, where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.
There's no need for me to be empty.
Or me.
Or me.
Don't forget me.
If you're pregnant or a nursing mother or have a baby or child under 5, you may be eligible for WIC, the Health and Nutrition Program.
Don't forget me.
To find out if you're eligible for the WIC program, call 1-800-525-2521, toll free.
Now, don't forget.
I'll never forget the smile on Mom's face when she got home from the hospital. She's comfortable and content now. Home care services and nurses have made it possible. Mom receives the physical care she still needs, but she's also given emotional support. Both are essential for her well-being. My kids and I are helping Mom, too. Through home care, we've learned more about her illness and how to handle it. Home care is a healthy alternative, and we're really glad we found out about it. You should, too.
Join the Ingalls family for life on the Kansas plains.
Look at the country girl. Made me so mad I wanted to smack her good.
Their sorrow.
I can't see.
And their joy.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Reverend, we've been thinking about what we could do for the church.
I want a church organ.
Church organ it is.
Oh, my. What do you think of that?
Little House on the Prairie, weekdays at 6 on WUTV, Buffalo 29. Now, back to our program.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Ooh, don't know my own strength.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like. And now, here's Bullwinkle's Corner.
Today's offering is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, suddenly there came a tapping. 'Tis some raven come a rapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. No raven. Back into my chamber spooky, feeling sad and somewhat kooky. Come in. Hey, you're no raven. You're a woodpecker. Quickly then I grabbed a poker. Okay now, you feathered joker, I'll teach you to interrupt a verse by Edgar Allan Poe. Now the room is round me waving. Feels like I've been in a cave-in. When will next I read The Raven? I can tell you, nevermore.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
But that trick never worked.
This time for sure. Presto! Well, I'm getting close.
And now it's time for another special feature.
Peabody here with two prime examples of horror. First, we have this book, Murders in the Rue Morgue, which completely shocked the entire world. Secondly, we have Sherman's report card, which completely shocked PS 32. Which brings us to the man we're going to visit today.
My teacher, Mr. Peabody?
No, the man who wrote the most famous horror stories of all time, Edgar Allan Poe. He set the Wayback Controls for Baltimore, Maryland in the year 1832.
I did get an A in hockey, Mr. Peabody.
That's hooky, and step inside. The Wayback, which I invented one morning while waiting for a bus, responded magnificently. And there we were in Poe's study.
And with that, the steel door closed shut, never to open again.
Ooh, our timing is perfect. I bet he just finished The Fall of the House of Usher.
Peeking over his shoulder, we were thoroughly stunned by the title of the book.
Winnie the Pooh?
Yes, and tomorrow I shall write Little Women.
But you can't do that, Mr. Poe. You're supposed to write horror stories.
I've tried, but they all come out with happy endings.
Perhaps if you were put into an environment of horror...
That gives me a keen idea, Mr. Peabody. Let's take Mr. Poe to a haunted house.
I was all for staying where we were, but it being Sherman's birthday, I decided to humor him. In those days, Baltimore was simply rampant with haunted houses. Reaching the outskirts of town, we turned onto the old mill road, leading past the cemetery, and approached Grizzly Manor.
The only thing we need now is a good old spooky storm.
It seemed that someone else was humoring Sherman on his birthday. Three things went up and down. Sherman's Adam's apple, the hair on the back of my back, and Poe's yo-yo. It doesn't seem as though your scheme is working too well, Sherman.
Yeah, but wait till he gets inside. Come on.
With Sherman leading the way, we entered the foreboding abode and fell victim to a cleverly concealed trapdoor in the floor. In the dim light, we saw that we were now in a chamber of horrors.
Mr. Peabody, do you see what I see?
Implements of torture, Sherman. An iron lady, the rack, a spiked boot, and a television set, the most fiendish means of torture known to man. This was enough to frighten anyone out of his wits. That is, anyone but Edgar Allan Poe, who had now taken the string from his yo-yo and was happily playing cat's cradle.
Gosh, won't anything scare him?
We would soon know, for it was then that a panel in the wall slid open and it walked into the room. Battle axe in hand, the loathsome creature prepared to deal Poe a devastating blow. And that was when the second cleverly concealed trapdoor opened, and we plunged down to a pool of evil-smelling, brackish water. You all right, my boy?
I think so, Mr. Peabody. Ooh, some haunted house, huh?
Well, it would scare the dickens out of Dickens, I'll say that.
But not Edgar Allan Poe.
Not Edgar Allan Poe. In fact, there he was, floating next to us inside an old inner tube, having the time of his life.
Gosh, nothing scares him.
Something might. Look.
Pins.
And they don't belong to a Cadillac. Grabbing Sherman with one paw and Poe with the other, I headed for the bottom of the pool. If that shark got in here, there must be a way of getting out. Sure enough, there was a drainage pipe just large enough for all three of us to get through. We swam through the pipe for what seemed like hours until finally we came to a point where the water emptied into Chesapeake Bay. Seconds later, we were sunning ourselves on the beach.
Some experience, huh, Mr. Poe?
Poe was busy constructing castles of sand.
I give up, Mr. Peabody. I guess Mr. Poe will never be frightened enough to write horror stories.
Oh, yes, he will. Edgar, what time does the postman arrive at your house?
12 noon exactly.
Then we just have time. We caught the first ferry boat going west, transferred to a horse and buggy going north, took a streetcar going east, and there we were in the southern part of Baltimore, right in front of Poe's house.
12 on the nose, Mr. Peabody.
And here comes the mailman. Under my instructions, Poe took the letter he was given and opened it right on the spot.
Mr. Peabody, he's scared stiff.
Naturally. You see, today is April 15th. That letter contained his income tax report, enough to frighten the wits out of anyone.
Who's that gentleman giving Mr. Poe smelling salts?
Well, that's his brother, Richard, a noted writer in his own right.
What did he write?
An almanac. Richard Poe's almanac.
Don't you mean Poe Richard's almanac?
Come to think of it, I guess I do.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Sport Billy and Sport Lily present The Race.
Oof! Oh, ouch! Oh no, I forgot to tie my shoelaces. Oh no, help! Phew, that was close. Are you all right, Susie? I think so. I tripped on my shoelaces, and I'll never, ever, ever forget to tie them again.
Safety is the first rule.
In any sport.
You give love, you give life, when you give to the SPCA.
Remember when you first found him, the best friend you'd ever have, right there, all alone at the SPCA. That's why you keep on giving. You know the SPCA doesn't receive a cent from the government, so it's up to you. You keep building the friendships that really last. Give love, give life.
Give to the SPCA.
Hi, I'm Eugene Marver of the Buffalo Bills. Being a professional athlete requires years of hard work and practice. Same thing applies to doing well in school. You have to do your homework. I know sometimes it could be rough out there. I had trouble myself when I was in school. That's why there's a homework hotline number available to help you. Now this number is 689-9696. You call this number and you will receive help. And by the way, you can tell them Eugene sent you.
Hey kids, see all your favorite cartoon characters weekday morning starting at 7 with that popular barnyard pal, Porky Pig and his friends. And at 7:30, it's that wascally wabbit Bugs Bunny and his friends. At 8, join Fred, Barney, Wilma, and Betty for all the bedrock news on the Flintstones. And at 8:30, the Great Space Coaster provides song, dance, and all kinds of fun. Don't forget your favorite cartoon characters weekday morning starting at 7, right here on WUTV, Buffalo 29.
Now, back to our program.
Well, Rocky and Bullwinkle are up to their necks in trouble, and in water, too, for Boris Badenov dumped them into the harbor and a huge ocean liner began to squeeze them against the dock.
It's coming closer, Rock.
Up on the bridge, Captain Peter Peachfuzz, with his customary efficiency, was giving a series of conflicting orders.
Haul the hawser, hat ahead, full astern, bat and a hack, bloop the bleep, smartly now.
But still the ship inched inward.
I can't hold it off, Rock. I'm folded up like an acorn bean.
The crowd gasped, for now there was only one thing between our heroes and disaster, Bullwinkle's antlers.
Will they hold, Bullwinkle?
It ain't the antlers I'm worried about. It's that space in between.
Here, catch this rope.
But in the excitement, Captain Peach Fuzz let the rope go on the wrong side of the ship. Fortunately, it caught on a passing speedboat, and slowly but surely the liner was pulled outward. A moment later, the boys were being hauled aboard the SS Andalusia in a cargo net. Everybody was overjoyed at the rescue. Well, almost everybody.
Dear Diary, today I killed off moose and squirrel. Weather continues fair.
Boris, look, they're safe.
Raskolnikov! Now I got to erase whole page.
Well, the Andalusia finally got underway. For 2 days, the two spies remained hidden in their cabin. Then one morning...
Boris, look at mooseberry bush.
Sure enough, the mooseberry bush looked terrible. Its leaves had lost their luster, its branches drooped sadly. The spies quickly summoned the ship's doctor.
It's simple. This plant is seasick.
Seasick?
Yes, I recommend you get it out in the air and sunshine. A few quick turns around the deck every day should do the trick.
But that wasn't as simple as it sounded.
Look, it's moose and squirrel. Hide quick.
And the spies ducked out of sight as our heroes passed.
All clear, Natasha.
They are bound to find us sooner or later, Boris.
Come. We'll think of a way.
And so the next time Rocky and Bullwinkle came around the corner of the deck, they saw 3 new passengers in deck chairs.
Hello there, fellow sailors.
Are you having a bon voyage?
It's bit of all right, old chappie. Pip, pip, and all that sort rat.
Say, you must be English.
Well, I guess our little secret is out, my dear. Allow me to introduce myself. Sir Thomas Lippin Boris at your service.
Not Sir Thomas Lippenboris, the millionaire yachtsman.
Of course, old boy. See, it says so on card. And this is my wife, Lady Alice.
Howdy.
Charmed, I'm sure, darling.
And this is my Uncle Chamandjali, pronounced Chomley.
Hi, I'm Rocky, and this is Bullwinkle.
Pronounced Binky.
Sorry, chaps. Uncle Chomley is taking a nap right now.
Looks like a keen idea.
Well, then why don't you have lie down, old chappie? Here, use mine chair. We will take walk around deck with your little friend.
Well, that's mighty thoughty of you.
Boris, you're leaving Moose with Uncle Chumley?
Of course. Then Squirrel go with us. And when we're alone, you get it?
I get it.
So will Squirrel. Come along now. Last one around the deck is a saggy crumpet.
And as Rocky went trustingly into the dark shadows of the boat deck with Boris and Natasha, Bullwinkle lay down next to Uncle Chumley. But when a stray breeze blew away the handkerchief over Uncle Chumley's face, it wasn't a person at all, but the mooseberry bush in disguise. Will Bullwinkle catch on for once? And what about Rocky, all alone with Sir Thomas and Lady Alice? Don't miss our next episode, The Earl and the Squirrel, or The March of Crime.
For the biggest thinker of them all, Mr. Know-It-All.
Hello, America! Today's mental fire drill comes under the heading of How to be a Cowpuncher without getting hit back. The simplest way of learning how to punch cows is to join a cattle drive. The person who does the hiring is called a 5-man, which is a 4-man who got promoted.
You with the built-in chaps. It's Betty by time for cattle. You stand guard. You got gun?
Sure, right here.
Tell me, why you got hot water bottle on gun?
It's a sick shooter.
Not feeling good, huh? Does it shoot?
Does it shoot?
Now look what you done. Cattle are stampeding.
Never fear, I shall stop them.
How do you stop 5,000 fear-crazed beasts?
By holding up 5 fear-crazed fingers and saying, whoa!
That's very good. How do you get them started again?
Oh, by saying, giddy-up. After serving his apprenticeship, the full-fledged cowboy now puts his knowledge to use by joining a rodeo, or radio, they're both correct.
And the winner of the Bronco busting event is Mr. Know-It-All.
Golly, Mr. Know-It-All, you sure can ride.
Yeah, you're only supposed to stay on 10 seconds. I've been on this critter 10 hours.
How do you manage to stay on him so long?
Very simple. I got a pocket full of dimes.